is Kyle. So that's what that feels like. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. This should be a little bit brief because I don't have a whole lot to say about this because it's really speculation, but given how this news came out and just considering just more than likely what had happened, I feel like it's interesting to talk about. So you guys may have heard, I don't know if you guys are, into like reading news, just, in Hollywood and all that stuff. For those who don't know, Disney was going to be working with an AI company, I believe it was called Sora. Now, Sora, I guess, is a kind of a well-known AI platform, an AI program. I think they're the ones responsible for some of the more well-known AI videos out there. Like, I believe the person who used Sora generated the Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt video that kind of circled the internet and basically spooked Hollywood for a hot minute, amongst other things here and there. Now, there was a whole discussion, and it was actually the subject to a lawsuit, I think it was like Google or something like that, about using the likenesses of, IPs from other companies. And as a response, I guess Disney has decided to collaborate with an AI company openly in the form of Sora. Now, obviously, we know that Hollywood is neck deep in AI. They've been, Disney especially, they've been wanting to utilize AI before. This is going back to the conversations we had a few months ago, regarding stuff like the live action Moana coming out. If you guys know, they were planning on using AI in that movie, but because of public perception towards AI at the time and currently today, they decided to go against it. Same thing with Tron Ares. They apparently had like a whole marketing campaign, that they were going to do with AI stuff in the middle of it, but then they scrapped that for, again, similar reasons, with not wanting to stir any controversy within the public eye. But now, with AI being more in the forefront and it's being just being utilized everywhere nowadays, Disney has decided to dip their hands in and allow for their IPs and their licenses to be utilized with a certain company. In this case, it was going to be Sora. Well, out of nowhere today, Sora has shut down. They have shut down, and they don't have a reason for why, at least as far as I've read. There's no concrete reason as to why they have shut down. They just arbitrarily just shut down, and Disney therefore has also canceled their deal because obviously they're null and void. If they're not going to be a company anymore, then there's no reason to move forward with the deal. Now, as far as I've read from Deadline, this deal was not completely finalized. There was no exchange of money. I think it was going to be like $1 billion investment, so Disney was going to be very invested into this arrangement. But none of that came to fruition. So it's not like that they passed over money and now all of a sudden the company is just taking the money and running, right? Nothing like that. As far as I've read anyway. This is just out of the blue, we're just shutting down, right? Now, there are a few things that come to mind. The first of which is going to be really unpopular to say, but just lately I've been trying to be more considerate, and I just want to say, for the first and foremost, it's going to be unfortunate, for employees, people who are, employed or work within that business. I don't agree with that business. I don't agree with the practice of how it's being utilized today. But people have work and people have jobs, and they have their own lives and stuff like that. And it is unfortunate for all those people who probably were employed that are going to be, having to, probably find other work elsewhere. So that's really unfortunate. As much as I disagree with the practice, I disagree with, the business to some extent. I don't wish for people to get fired and stuff like that. But the other thing is up to speculation. And I think that what I'm thinking is, I feel like I'm close to this because someone said on, there was a comment to like a Deadline article talking about this, where they said, there's more to this than, there's more to the story than they're letting on. I'm like, yeah, there absolutely is. I think it's to do with Disney. I think that they wanted more out of this deal than what they let on. I think that they probably wanted to muscle their way into this company, and they thought that maybe with them using their licenses, just to a large extent, they were going to use like a ton of characters and stuff like that. They were giving them a huge access to their library. They felt that maybe that's their way to integrate themselves into this company and find their way to become basically the owners of the company, or to run their business essentially. And perhaps that's what Sora caught wind of, and maybe there was some, again, wild speculation, but maybe there was some subtle threats or subtle suggestions that maybe further lawsuits may be in play, or something else could happen. And with having such exposure, right? Sora is like one of the more notable platforms as far as I know. So being so upfront, being so exposed, there could be a lot of ramifications, especially if a juggernaut like Disney is wanting to do stuff and you're disagreeing with them or trying to, have business a certain way. It could lead to issues, right? So instead of getting tied up in a legal battle or getting, caught up in the business with other big studios, right? Maybe the best thing to do is to just shut down, I don't know. But that's what it seems like to me, because it just seems really odd to just shut down without any explanation. And I think that it's a lot to do with legality, because again, I think that if they were to say that, we don't agree with how Disney was trying to muscle their way into this, then that would cause for legal, stuff. Disney's lawyers to go after them. So that's what I'm thinking, because if there were anything else, they would say it, right? They would say that, business has not been strong lately, or we couldn't come to a if the deal didn't work on its own, that's one thing. But to them say we're just shutting down our company entirely, I think that's very, very telling. So in some ways, Disney just killed an AI company. They just killed an AI company, potentially because of their own greed and their own ambitions. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that Disney has killed a deal with a company, right? Let's look back to the whole Spider-Man thing that happened. When Marvel and Sony were negotiating, on the Spider-Man rights. I believe this was after Homecoming. They were trying to split the profits because Sony makes up the margins of said movies, where Marvel only makes a certain amount of money. They actually, I think, benefit from the toy sales more than anything. But in that deal, they tried to do a 50-50 split. That was what Disney tried to get. And, Sony said, no, that's not happening at all. And they walked from the deal. And for a hot minute, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was not in the MCU, right? And there was all this, what's going to happen, stuff like that. And then eventually they were able to meet back and find a reasonable deal, largely to Sony's benefit, because, it's Sony licensing it out to another company. And for Disney to try to step in and try to basically run the show, it doesn't rub a company the right way when you try to do that. So this is what it smells like to me when it comes to the Sora situation. It just reminds me of that a little bit, where you have a giant company like Disney trying to basically find their way to be the showrunners, to be the guys in charge. And it seems as though Sora didn't want to cave and didn't want to just fall under pressure or fall under too much exposure, maybe getting into legal battles, I have no idea. But it seems like they just didn't want to deal with it, and they decided to just shut it down. That's crazy. Now, some people will probably be happy because they just hate AI with passion. I don't like AI and the practice that it's being used. I acknowledge that it has its uses in other aspects, but in the film front, how it's being utilized, I don't necessarily agree. But it's unfortunate for all the employees, people who have who rely on their jobs, these specific jobs for paying off their house and keeping the lights on, all that. It's unfortunate. But I think that the people who brought this on is not Sora themselves. I think it might be Disney. So it might be that Disney just killed an AI company, not because they want to, but because of their own greed and ego. So, but you guys let me know. What do you guys think happened with Sora? Do you guys think that it is something else, or do you guys think what I'm thinking, where maybe Disney tried to muscle in and tried to take things over, and instead of Sora just looking elsewhere, they decided, what, let's just shut this down, and those people might just bounce back, and maybe they'll revamp the company. Who knows? But you guys let me know all your thoughts relating to this topic. I just found it interesting, just the very absent reason for why, and then you just kind of consider that, oh yeah, Disney just tried to make a deal with them like literally a few months ago, and now here we are. It's kind of convenient, if you ask me. So, but let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below, and that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.